Quickly here on May. Mike T., your takeaway from what we saw from last night from the number 3 pick.
Greedy, really encouraged. Building on last week, we only had 2 completions that were at or behind the line of scrimmage. We saw everything. That third down throw was great anticipation, accurate. We saw him run the ball. Had some, here's the third down throw here. And he had some comparisons to Ben Roethlisberger, Greeny. We saw that last night. I do think they have enough skilled players, but when you think about those great Patriot teams, it started up front. And my big concern for them is I think they have massive holes at both tackle positions, and that may dictate when they want to play Drake Maye.
Why did that bother you so much?
I mean, Ben Roethlisberger ran off like 15 straight as a rookie.
Right.
I was responsible for Ben Roethlisberger getting his start. We knocked Tommy Maddox out. By halftime, we was asking, was Tommy okay, and was he coming back? I mean, Drake.
That was a vastly different team that Ben Roethlisberger was on from this one that Drake Maye is on.
And that's the facts that you're talking about. You talk about the skill positions. Out of all the rookie quarterbacks, he's probably walked into the worst situation. They're going to have to find a way to build around him. But the elephant in the room is we may have an RG3 Kirk Cousins type of situation because Joe Milton really performed well when the lights turned on. So there's going to be a lot of pressure for him to be the savior, while meanwhile Joe Milton is always going to be the backup quarterback. He's going to always be enticing because every mistake that that Drake Maye makes is going to be magnified.
Bear in mind, they've got Jacoby Brissett, who was going to start the season. They've got Drake Maye. They drafted Joe Milton in the 6th round, and he's a player a lot of people are high on.
Developmental player, I think they took in the 6th round, and their plan is to start Brissett. Although when you watch Maye last night, like I kept hearing Orlovsky's voice talk about ball placement. There was an incompletion down the left sideline early in the game that was like the receiver was covered. This isn't it. The receiver was covered, but he put the ball at the sideline to a point where it wasn't going to get intercepted. Like to me, like he was. So anyway, they like where he is developmentally. When you talk to these coaches about these young players and what they're worried about, it's putting them in negative situations and having that grind them down. You want to make sure the guy is going to be okay with the mistakes that he makes, the mistakes that people make around him, and that's not going to crush him. And once you're convinced of that, I think that's when you'll see Drake Maye.
Look, one of the things we were talking about is that some of the rookie performances have been so spectacular. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, even Penix had some moments. This doesn't seem to jump off the page.
The one reason to watch these preseason games is these rookie quarterbacks, and I'll stand by that. That's the only thing I like about these preseason games.
Well, when you consider like the weapons in which he's throwing to, I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster probably was the best receiver that they had, and he's on the streets looking for a job right now.
Yeah, they tried to trade for Brandon Ayuk. They're doing what they can there. It figures to be a very long season in New England. Figures to be a very interesting season in Dallas. Let us get to the story of the morning. Okay, Dak Prescott, his future as he enters the final year of his deal. Set to make $29 million this upcoming season. We all understand what the cap hit is. It's enormous. He spoke to the media yesterday about his contract negotiations, and listen to how optimistic he sounds about a deal.
I'm happy where I am right now, and that's really all my focus is. And yeah, I mean, as I said, I enjoy being a Cowboy 1,000%. Enjoy living in Dallas, enjoy everything about it. But this is a business, so conversations are going well. Hoping it gets done now, hoping it gets done in a couple of weeks during the season or whenever it happens. I just know conversations are on the right way.
Okay, so we have been sitting here trying to come up with an explanation for the inexplicable. Why doesn't CeeDee Lamb have a contract when absolutely everything seems to suggest that should be the easiest deal in the world to make? And I haven't been able to come up with an explanation. And then I listened to Dak Prescott in that press conference yesterday, and I thought, for the first time, it makes sense. Maybe behind closed doors, in rooms that we're not invited into, in places that we haven't heard much about, these Dak negotiations are much closer to getting done than we think they are. All of us sit here saying, he'd be crazy to sign a contract right now. Well, all of a sudden, he sounds, maybe he's a very good actor.
Well, yes. I mean, look, I think he is. I think when Dak Prescott's finish your thought, and then I'll tell you what.
Either he's a very good actor, or they're closer to a deal than I thought they were, and that might be what's holding up the CeeDee Lamb situation.
It's an interesting theory. I don't think it's accurate, but it's interesting. I think they're trying to do both of these deals. I think they could absolutely get a CD Lamb deal done tomorrow, irrespective of the Dak Prescott situation. But I think when Dak talks publicly, like in a media press conference setting, he's almost like he's like a more authentic and likable Russell Wilson, right? Like he's going to say the right thing, right? Like he's going to do it in less of an obvious way. But I think we're in a situation here where if there is a parting of ways between Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, that's going to be seismic for the franchise.
Yeah.
And each side is going to want to make sure that the fans know it wasn't their fault. Right. So if Dak leaves, like he wants to be able to say, like, oh, I wanted to be in Dallas, it just didn't work out.
I mean, I've been saying this for a while. I thought, when Tua's deal got done, I think that was the last, chip to fall, and now they can really negotiate off of all the quarterbacks that we consider that Dak considers he's better than and more deserving of the process. Because Tua had played well for the last 2 years, I feel like they're going to hold off on the CD because it's so obvious, so easy to do the CD deal. But really, you want the first deal to be done is Dak Prescott. So I feel like, maybe there is something to this that maybe they've been talking. And at the end of the day, I don't care how many cards and how much leverage Dak has. If he goes into the season and hurts himself like he did before, it ruins it all. Lifelong Dallas Cowboy, that makes you immortalized within that organization and that city for a long time.
So what I've been saying about Dak is not that he'd be crazy to do a deal right now, but he doesn't have to do a deal right now unless he gets everything he wants.
Right.
Now, if part of everything he wants is to be a Cowboy for life and he gets that in this deal, then great, go ahead, get your money. But he's not negotiating against the Tua deal or the Trevor Lawrence deal. Mm-hmm. He's negotiating against the idea of being on the open free agent market next March. And those are the kinds of numbers they're thinking about. What would that be if all of a sudden the Raiders and the Saints and the Giants and the Jets are all bidding for, and the Cowboys are all bidding for my services? Well, that's going to go way above where Tua is right now. So that's what he's negotiating against because they can't franchise it.
All right, let's open the offices of Tannenbaum and Greenberg for some explanation here. What are you hearing, Mike T?
Well, I think CD Lamb does get done. And I'll say this. If I was a player in the Dallas Cowboy locker room and Dak Prescott gets done before the season, I'm pissed at him. And here's why, Greeny. At a $55 million cap, that's 22% of their salary cap. And we saw Tony Pollard leave. We saw Tyron Smith leave. We saw CD Lamb not get his deal done. Micah Parsons wants a new deal. And you're our quarterback. So if this deal gets done between now and opening day, I'm sure the sentiment in the locker room would be really disappointed with their quarterback because you have a responsibility when you have that much of the team's resources. Get it done early so you have the best chance. They were a really good regular season team, as we well know last year. Try to keep that nucleus together. There's more questions on this team this year than there were last.
You're not buying it, Bart.
Because deadlines spurn action, right? And we've seen Jerry do this over and over again, but at the end of the day, Jerry always signs the guy. Right now, he let Tyron Smith go because I felt like he knew it was time for Tyron Smith to graduate because he knows that Zach Martin is coming. They've drafted a tackle, his replacement. Yeah. He was getting older. Like I think every game was a gift. 13 games started, but he's been injured. So I can't blame this on Dak Prescott. I blame this on Jerry and the sense of urgency starting to pick up because he realizes that, hey, he didn't blink. This is the second time that he didn't blink in negotiations, so I have to kind of concede and give him what he wants. Jerry has always done that, whether it was Emmett after the 2 games,
right,
or whether it was Ezekiel Elliott going to Cabo, right? So, like, Jerry's never let anybody that was substantial walk away.
Yeah, agreed. Over the last couple of years, we talk about what they do in free agency, but what they tend to do is sign their own people.
Right.
I think Randy Gregory was the one guy, right, that they really tried to sign and lost to another team. So, but like this is the big one. Like Dak Prescott's the big one. If they lose him, everything's a reset in Dallas. They have to find a new quarterback, possibly a new coach, depending how the season goes.
So Jerry's not getting any younger. So,
right. So I think that's it could happen. Like Dak could be telling the truth, right? Like they have had conversations since camp opened. There's no question about it. The right phone call can take you from we're nowhere near a deal to we have a deal. So yes, would it be surprising? I don't think so. But I think CD Lamb is certain to get done before week 1, and Dak is still up in the air because of his situation, all the leverage he has.
Right. I mean, I keep hearing that CD is certain to be done before week 1. And you know what? I mean, I heard that a month ago, and I heard it a week ago, and I heard it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of this week, and now it's Friday. I mean, did he just not want to go to training camp? I mean, does he not want to be in the preseason?
Right? Like, let's keep an eye on that. They're back in Texas next week from Oxnard. Maybe that's when it gets done. I don't know why you wouldn't want to go out there. It's gorgeous out there. It's nice and cool, ocean breezes, all that. But maybe that's it. Maybe he didn't want to go out there. I don't know.
Oxnard in August is a lovely place to be.
I will be completely stunned if CeeDee Lamb is not on the field for the Cowboys week 1.
So will I. But I would have been completely stunned if you had told me that Dak Prescott was going to become an unrestricted free agent next year. And it looks like that's on the way to happening. I want to show you one other thing because there's been so much talk. Can we put that full screen up there, Matt? A45. So we talk about the Cowboys. There's been a lot of conversation all of a sudden, a lot of focus on their cash spending. For the record, this is just the way we keep hearing them saying, oh, we can't sign all these guys. We got all these high-priced guys. Dak Prescott is the only player on the Cowboys roster, the only one scheduled to make $20 million this year. Their division rival, the Eagles, who've been in the Super Bowl twice in the last 7 seasons, have 5 players whose deals have a cash value of at least $20 million.
Well, I mean, this is more of a Mike T special with understanding what the cap is all about and future, consequences with the cap numbers.
It's about money, Mike T. It's not about the cap. It is about actual spending of money.
But that's why I believe that they didn't sign anybody in free agency because they know they have to get Parsons done. They know they have to get CD done. So they're going to add to that list, and I think that's coming in short order. When they have to figure things out.
You said $20 million. They're going to have 2 guys making over 30 and 1 guy making over 50.
Go ahead.
So they have to structure those deals around each other.
Mike T.
Yeah, exactly. Context is everything here. Obviously, they're planning to get Micah Parsons signed, and obviously CD's get signed. But going back to the Dallas aspect of this, Greeny, here's something that doesn't make sense to me. Jerry Jones is a smart, strategic businessman. I was surprised they didn't draft a quarterback because they know that Dak could walk. They know they can't franchise him. So if we're sitting here in February, and as Graz pointed out, fill in the blank, the Saints, the Raiders, whomever, $61 million, and they walk, you're talking about a massive rebuild. A head coach who doesn't have a contract, who won an extension, and now Cooper Rush, Trey Lance, and Dak Prescott all are free agents. So if I'm Dallas, I don't understand the strategic planning of what they're doing.
They're all in. They are either going to get it done this year or he's blown it up.
The future is now.
Look, they haven't won anything.
Right.
At the end, they've won a lot of regular season games, but they don't hang banners for that stuff.
There's an element of that,
From the start of the season, and we had some very big news yesterday. Let's start with Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert out of the walking boot. Remember he had that plantar fasciitis, had to be in a walking boot for a couple of weeks. Was working out at the facility without it yesterday, so that's an encouraging sign for the possibility, which still exists, that Justin Herbert could be on the field week 1 for the Chargers. We'll see when he returns to practice and how that progresses. The other LA team, the Rams, Matthew Stafford, their quarterback, left practice earlier this week with what they're calling hamstring tightness. Didn't practice yesterday. At this point, the Rams are saying this is precautionary. There have been instances in the recent years during training camp where Stafford was held out for precautionary reasons and turned out to be fine. So to some extent, we can take their word for it. Sean McVay says he'll practice next week. If that's the case, then this was all about nothing. If it's not, then there's a problem. And then the Buffalo Bills, Matt Milano, their linebacker, he came back, missed 12 games last year due to injury, came back, has a torn biceps tendon, according to our Adam Schefter, will miss at least a significant chunk of the year, maybe the entire year. Adam reporting that they hope he can maybe be back in late December, but this is big, Greeny. I mean, this is an important part of their defense, a defense that saw a lot of veteran leadership on the back end and safeties Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde leave this offseason. They were counting on Milano for a number of reasons, as a player, as a leader, and it's a tough blow for their defense.
This was what I was referring to when I said sneaky, huge news that could reshape the AFC East. This is a team, we talk a lot about the imaging, the reimagining, if you will, of the Buffalo offense, right, with the new offensive coordinator, lean more heavily on the run, no more Stephon Diggs. The reality is that defense, Mike T, did you have a stat from NFL Live yesterday? What percentage of their snaps from that defense they've lost?
Yes, Green. 42% of their defense from last year is no longer the team, as Graz pointed out, led by Poyer and Hyde, amongst many others like Tre'Davious White. And when you were tracking this team in the offseason, you said, okay, well, they're going to get Von Miller and Matt Milano back. Matt Milano's the quarterback. He'll get everybody lined up. So I do think this is sneaky big news. And when you look at the other side of the ball, over the last 7 games, when they changed coordinators, they led the league in rushing attempts per game. So you know they want to run the ball, play good defense. I think this is a significant story. I think Dorian Williams is a good player, but the intangibles of Matt Milano's leadership will be missed.
I mean, Bart, I don't think we can overstate the significance of this injury and that player to that team. Again, they missed him last year terribly. And when I saw that tweet from Schefter yesterday, my first reaction was, Because the way the first sentence of it read, it didn't sound so bad.
I know what your first reaction was.
And then, no. I don't root for injuries. I mean, look, I've seen what happened. It happened to me last year. I don't wish that upon anybody. But the reality is, when it said possibly returning in December is a very, very long way away. That is a bad injury for a team that, as the point has been made here, has lost a lot from that defense.
It's crippling. Make no bones about it for people who don't know who Matt Milano is. When healthy, in my opinion, he's a top 5 linebacker in this league and one of the best leaders that they have. His instincts and his ability to both be effective in the run and the pass. He's a guy that gets everybody lined up. And when you lose 2 leaders in the back that's handling the communication on the back end and Poyer and High, you have to lean even more on him coaching everybody up, getting everybody lined up, shifts, motions, imbalanced lines. You can't really put into words how significant his loss is and how this affects their defense. Remember, they're still trying to figure out from playing without Leslie Frazier as well and make that adjustment to this being Sean McDermott's lead defense. So I think he's going to be missed, and it's going to cost some games.
Look.